dusk. Welcome to Realm of the Sacred Roots. It's been a little while again, I feel like, since I've been on, and I really miss talking to you guys. So I wanted to come on this evening and do a little video about some things that have been going on in my life and some lessons learned that you might be able to benefit from in your own magic, in your own journey. So we're in some strange times right now. There's a lot of noise. There are a lot of things going on, whether it's from the television, whether it's from family members, friends, relationships, or just being outdoors and noticing that things are different. People are now wearing masks and things are a little more expensive in the stores. You're not finding all the items that you normally would use because they're off the shelves. So things are a little different. And so sometimes that can affect our spirituality in the way that we're not hearing the way we normally hear. So I wanted to share some things that have been going on with me and what has happened. And so maybe you can learn from that. My number one, I guess, bullet would be to use your instincts, right? Listen to that inner voice that you have inside. The other day, this was actually just a few days ago, I was walking around, I was out doing something, and I got this ominous feeling. I don't normally get these feelings, but I couldn't quite place what it was. And I, of course, immediately pray for protection, and I am just a little more aware of my surroundings when things like that happen. Sometimes I forget those feelings aren't only for me or mine, okay? Sometimes they are also, it could be friends, possibly, or people that you know that might need a little prayer, that might need a little help, or well wishing at the moment. They could be going through something. Sometimes I forget that. I feel like I'm not only responsible for myself, but for those that are around me in a spiritual kind of covering way. So, anyways, I ended up coming home. Everything was fine. And I want to say I was either watching TV or doing something. And I was sitting on the couch, and a friend's name came to my head. And I was like, hmm. So I sent them a message, and I was just like, hey, what are you doing right now? And they wrote back and they were just like, oh, watching TV, da da da. I was like, okay, I'm just checking on you because I don't know, for some reason your name came before me, and I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And their response was, well, my house got shot up today, but we're okay. My family and I are okay. What? Um, it was a shock to me. What do you mean your house was shot up? Kind of like this was like, it's just not a big, like, hey, it just, hey, yeah, besides that, everything else is cool. No wonder all day long I had that ominous feeling, that vibe, like something wasn't right. So, what I guess I'm telling you this story to tell you that if you're locked down and your stuff's usually pretty good, sometimes when you get those feelings, and then if that's not enough, you come home later and then you get that person's face or name comes before you, usually it's because they need that prayer, they need that um extra protection or boost. And even though I pray and pray for my family, my surroundings, that prayer, I believe, still goes to those that are around me, those that I feel like I'm responsible for in some sort of way, in a spiritual covering way. So I just wanted to mention that to you. That was an interesting, it just happened. And again, just for you to pay attention to that inner instinct that you have, because we're hearing differently, because I feel like the waves, the I say the radio waves, but the connection that we have from spirit either can be clogged sometimes, or there's just too much traffic going on right now, and we're not feeling and picking up maybe the ways we normally do. So pay attention to that. If you get that weird feeling or whatever, it might not be for just you, but it could also be for your extended family and friends. So I'm glad my friend was okay and the family is okay and all is well. with that. So that was kind of my first example of what's been happening. Use your instincts. Definitely. Don't just pass it off as like, oh, okay, yeah, that person's name or face came before me and it's not a big deal. It's okay to send protection their way. It's okay to check in on them and see how they're doing because you just never know. That was the first one. The second one's a little awkward because the second one has to do with voices. And so let me preface it by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but uh, this is just my own experiences. Sometimes when people hear voices or they have thoughts, I'll say voices. Now, it could be audible voices or it could be an inner, again, like an inner instinct, an inner voice that comes to you. Uh, I know what it's like to have racing thoughts, and some people are put on medicine because they have racing thoughts and they can't slow these thoughts down. Um, the other day, I started to have some of those. um I used to hear conversations, and the conversations I heard was almost like me stepping into a portal, stepping into another room, and if as if someone couldn't see me, and as if I were eavesdropping on a conversation, and I would hear conversations back and forth between people. I've heard of other spiritualists that this has happened when they were young. They would walk in, they would hear their parents talking downstairs, and they would know what they were saying. Not hear them by hear them through the air, but hear them in here, and they would know what they were saying. And they would go in the room and say something to them because they heard up here what they were talking about. So it was sort of like that. Anyways, the other day I walked in on a conversation and there was a girl's name in the conversation. And so I looked the name up, and the name that I pulled up and with the spelling was a deceased young lady who passed in latter part of, I think it was 2018. And sometimes I get names or different things of, usually it's younger people that have died in a kind of horrific way, because there's something that's not solved or there's something that needs to be explored more. And so I'm still working with my own um investigation skills here because this has happened to me before. So if you have those kind of things, by all means, if you have gone to the doctor and they've determined that those things that you're hearing, and you need, that's not normal, or it's a mental condition or issue, by all means, take the medicine that you are supposed to take. If you know enough where you're able to separate the two, and or whichever, and it's a spiritual thing, then follow that through. Of course, as long as it's not telling you to hurt anybody or things like that. I did have a friend who was schizophrenic, and she's the only friend that I knew of that was schizophrenic and gifted. So it was interesting on how to separate, and I would ask her questions trying to understand better how to separate that. How do you separate these things that you're hearing and seeing versus the spiritual things. And I'm sure that's another topic for another time that I would love to dive into when I have more information and I finish my research on that. But getting back to the point, listen sometimes to your inner voice, to the whispers that you hear, if it's to follow, investigate, because you don't know what one of your jobs may be, and or one of the things that you're supposed to do. One time I ended up, I say, having a conversation with the spirit of a young girl who was kidnapped, and she was in the back seat of the car, and I was back there. I could see it through her eyes, and she was showing me the two men that were sitting in the front. She would look out the window, I would see what she was looking out the window at. And so it was just really heavy for me at the time. So I'm just trying to go back to those things and see how I can help these spirits um, find closure and follow this to the end. But the point was is you never know where it will take you. So listen to those things. Don't be afraid of those voices. Embrace that. Again, as long as it's a healthy spiritual type of instinct or voices, whispers that you are hearing. I know there are others that have the same gift where you can walk into conversations of people. And the third thing I wanted to mention to you was creativity and following your own path, right? So, because of everything going on, I wasn't quite hearing the way I would normally hear from spirit, from God. And it came to me in a different way. For me, it's singing. So the messages, the songs I would sing, it came to me in a different way, and it was through song. So if you're not hearing in a way that you are used to, there might be a different way that you can receive messages. I also do automatic writing. And so for those of you that do that, sometimes when spirit starts talking to you, you can write those things down, and you'll have your message there. But don't look for a traditional way. Look for the hidden. Okay, and that's my message for the third bullet: is your creativity. Look for a different way around the way you are normally used to doing it. So those were kind of like my three lessons that I've learned in the last couple of weeks. It's quite a bit, actually, if you break it down, but it's good information, and you never know where it will lead. And there was something else I wanted to say, and it came to following your own path. And so I feel like I'm supposed to say that, but say this. But when you look, if you do like your chart, I don't know how many of you have actually done your birth chart, and if you look at the way, and I'm not an astrologist by any means, just simply analyzing my own chart. But if you look at the way your planets line up and when they line up, and you actually have someone write out and tell you what each thing means, you will realize that what you are right now, what you are today, is not a mistake. It's not, that is how you were born. My chart has lots of Pluto, underworld. That's me. It's who I am. I mean, I mean, that's just who I am. Death and rebirth. That's me. That's my whole theme. It has a lot of occult in there. It has a lot of past life, as a magi. Like, it has all of these things that made me who I am today. The way things were aligned. So don't let anybody guilt trip you in telling you what path you should or you shouldn't be on. That you should follow this path because this path is the best path for you. I've taken a little bit from all the paths that I've walked, and I use them. Like I said, I've walked the lightest path, and I use that. So if people want to talk or dog me out or talk about me, not that anyone is, but I'm just saying that I pray to God or to Jesus or the Holy Spirit, I've walked the lightest path, and I still carry that on today, because you don't know what I've gone through, what I've been through, and what they have pulled me through and have gotten me through. You have no idea. And the same for walking the what I call the darkest path, and facing my demons and working with demons and facing those things and looking at your taboos and what people would shun you for, in exploring those things and reaching into that darker part of you to pull out what you need. So I've been on both sides, and they're both powerful, and they both have something to offer. I just so happen to use all of it now, including nature, including the animals, including the elements, and I make it all work together for me and my path. So nobody can tell me what the best path is for me. It was already written in my planets. It's already written in my stars. Nobody can tell you what path you should and shouldn't walk, what God you should and shouldn't serve or praise or give an offering to, which ones you should and shouldn't work with. Who can tell you that? Nobody, because they weren't raised in your household. They didn't go through the experiences you went through. If you had a horrific childhood, let's say, and you went through something horrible, and there was a specific god or goddess that you felt like actually got you through that time, who the hell am I to tell you that wasn't the truth? That's not the path. I have no idea. I wasn't there. I didn't save you. So I get tired of people telling other people, like, this is the path, this is the way. If you're still over here, then you're this and you're that. And you're going on your journey, and everybody is in their journey at different time periods. So you do what's best for you. As long as you keep seeking and keep looking for truth, then you will find it. For me, it just so happens I use everything. I use all of it. And what I find I cannot use, I put it over here for now. And it stays over there. But I love all of these things because they all have something wonderful to offer. All of it, including religions. Even though I'm not a religious person and I don't have a religion anymore, they all have something wonderful to offer. If you're just patient enough and you take what you can learn and then you move on and you keep growing. So I don't ascribe to any one thing anymore. You can't put me in a box. I don't have one religion that I am part of. I love all of it. And you use specific spirits and gods and deities at the specific time you need it. Anyways, I have no idea where that rant came from. That wasn't planned. But follow your own path is what I wrote down. And so it's important right now because you need to find your path. You need to know where you're going. Even if you don't know what the end state is, you need to have an idea of what path you're on and go with that. Because you have to get ready. You have to get prepared. There are some interesting things that are coming, and you have to find where you're at and not doubt yourself and stay grounded and stay firm in that, and you'll be okay. So this is just my little message to you guys. I really miss being on here more often, so I'm going to really do my best to try to come on here more often again. I wanted to do a video on a little update on where I'm at, but I ended up getting 2 puppies at almost the same time, pretty much. So I've been doing training with them, which takes up a lot of time. But I'm having fun in doing it. So anyways, everybody, please stay safe. Most of all, with the madness and everyone's opening up, and hey, we all want to get back to what we called normal, but please be safe. First of all, be safe. Don't be foolish. You're the only one that can protect yourself. If you have to go out there right now, then just be safe. Take care of you and your families, okay? Well, it was good being on here again. I really missed you guys, and I'll leave any comments that you want to leave. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will be back with more. If you have any questions about the content or anything else, just leave them in the comments section below. I write everyone back. So have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're at. See you guys next time.